Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Diana Quintero. Thank you for joining us. ASU is at the center of a controversy with a story that has gained national attention. College Republicans United is set to host a self-proclaimed white advocate, Jared Taylor, on campus Friday. Cronkite News reporter Geraldine Torellas tells us why this event is sparking backlash.
Some believe ASU should not allow this event to take place. Others believe that freedom of speech should protect it. It's an event that has two ASU clubs at odds. College Republicans United, or CRU, invited Jared Taylor and have publicized the speech on their social media. The ASU College Republicans are not involved with the event at all. They released this scathing statement. By hosting a race realist, CRU is abandoning their obligations as Republicans and making bedfellows of racists. Jared Taylor is the president of New Century Foundation, what the Southern Poverty Law Center describes as a, quote, self-styled think tank that promotes pseudoscientific studies and research that purport to show the inferiority of blacks to whites. According to CRU, Taylor will be speaking on defending white identity politics. Jeannie Castine is the executive director for Secular Arizona and alumni of ASU.
To be quite honest, I'm disappointed and surprised that they, ultimately decided to allow this hateful speaker to speak there.
Castine is careful to note that this is her personal opinion and it does not represent Secular Arizona, which was divided on the issue due to their stance on protecting the First Amendment. The organization decided to not release an action alert.
What I heard from my board was that they felt that this was a free speech issue. Even hate speech is protected by the First Amendment.
Several advocacy groups and ASU clubs have spoken out against the event and have posted action alerts to try and stop it from happening. Even the company BAM Tickets received backlash for selling tickets to the speech.
I want people to know that we're a local Arizona ticketing platform for a multitude of events, and that we definitely do not support white supremacy or anything to this nature.
Aaron Childs, the head ticketeer of BAM Tickets, says they ultimately asked CRU to pull the event from their website. We reached out to College Republicans United to get a statement. They declined to talk with us. The event was moved to a new venue on campus, one that can hold more than 400 people. Those that oppose the event have plans to hold a rally before it starts. In the studio, Geraldine Torellas, Cronkite News.
Two women pled guilty to illegally collecting early ballots for the 2020 primary election. Guillerma Fuentes pled guilty to a felony violation of Arizona's ballot harvesting law, which bars anyone but a relative, housemate, or caregiver from returning a ballot for them. Alma Juarez violated the same law, but only received a misdemeanor charge after agreeing to cooperate with prosecutors. Juarez's agreement calls for a sentence of probation. The probation department is also recommending the same for Fuentes. Public health officials confirmed there are now 3 cases of measles in Maricopa County. 2 of the cases are children, and only 1 person was hospitalized. None of them are vaccinated against the disease, and all are expected to recover. The Maricopa County Department of Public Health is conducting investigations and tracing to minimize the spread, as they say measles should not be taken lightly.
Even if you completely recover, there is a severe side effect that can affect you in years down the road, so anywhere from 7 to 9 years. We are trying to convey to people that measles is not one of those infections that you want to try to get and get natural immunity. Really, vaccination is the safest and best way to avoid it.
Anyone who thinks they were exposed should look out for symptoms such as fever, a non-itchy rash, and red, watery eyes. If you haven't claimed your free at-home COVID test from the federal government, you're going to have to look elsewhere, because today the Biden administration ended the program. Cronkite News reporter Emily Miranda has details from our Washington bureau.
7 months ago, the Biden administration bought 1 billion COVID tests for household distribution, But the White House said it was forced to suspend the program today.
Congress hasn't provided the COVID funding we need to replenish the nation's stockpiles of tests.
The decision to end the program has left pharmacies and local health departments looking for ways to meet a possible rise in COVID test demand.
One of the ways that we're trying to be proactive to those rise in demand is that we've expanded some of our library at-home test kit program that's been in Pima County.
It's not as if COVID is gone and the demand for testing is no longer with us. The Arizona Department of Health Services reported over 8,600 new COVID cases in the past week, with nearly 75,000 tests taken in that time. One health expert says ending the free test program is worrying.
I'm going to see people that should be tested that won't be tested. So we may see some outbreaks.
Of the original 1 billion test kits, over 600 million were distributed. The remaining 400 million tests will be put aside in case of a fall spike in COVID. Funding that would have gone to distribution will now be put toward vaccines.
We've had to take money away from things like testing, as I just mentioned, to help fund the procurement of these vaccines.
Jean-Pierre said people can still access free at-home tests through their insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, or at community-based testing sites across the country. And Diaz said Pima County residents can visit one of 12 county libraries.
They don't have to present any identification or any insurance. They can just go up to the library front desk and say, I would like a free COVID test kit.
In Washington, Emily Miranda, Cronkite News.
If you're planning to escape the Arizona heat this Labor Day, you can expect some travel delays on your way to your destination, as millions are expected to travel across the country. Ranking as the world's 11th busiest airport, Phoenix Sky Harbor has already had 37 flights delayed and 4 canceled. Phoenix Sky Harbor recommends checking your flight status before leaving to the airport and to arrive with lots of time in case of any flight changes. And if you're driving over the weekend, the Arizona Department of Transportation says you can expect the busiest times for state highway travel to be Friday afternoon into the early evening and Monday afternoon as people head back home. If you're staying in the Valley heat this weekend or attempting to escape from the rising temperatures, Sarah Blue is in the Weather Center with what you can expect this holiday weekend.
Well, if you are traveling over Labor Day weekend, here's what you can expect. Those 80s in Flagstaff, down in Winslow, pushing 100. Kingman, though, we're going to be 99 or 100 for the next several days. In the Grand Canyon, though, close to 90 for this weekend. Back in the Valley, we will be under an excessive heat warning that extends all the way through Monday at 8 p.m. So what that means is this weekend, we're going to be hot and sunny and close to 110. From the Cronkite Weather Center, I'm Sarah Blue.
NASA is trying to relaunch the first flight in the Artemis mission. The launch was first planned for Monday morning, but had to be canceled when there was trouble cooling one of the engines. With changes made to the propellant loading, they are trying again on Saturday.
Is ready. They are getting better with every attempt and actually performed superbly during launch countdown number 1. So in my mind, I think if the conditions with weather and the hardware align, we'll absolutely go. And we have the right team at kind of the right time.
The first flight is an unmanned mission to test NASA's newest space system. It's the first time the agency has used its space launch system, Heavy Rocket. This rocket has been in development for more than a decade. It's intended to replace the previous space shuttles as the primary space exploration craft. ASU football kicked off the season in winning fashion last night against NAU. The Sun Devils routed the Lumberjacks by a score of 40-3. In their ASU debut, quarterback Emory Jones and running back Xavier Valladay rushed for 2 touchdowns each for a combined total of 28 points. Jones finished with 152 total passing yards, while Valladay ran the ball 15 times for 116 total yards. ASU's next game is away against 14th ranked Oklahoma State Saturday, September 10th. Coming up after the break, we'll take a look back at stories from our health team, from the hotline designed to help those needing mental health care to how young students are turning to art to help deal with the aftermath of the pandemic.
Last month, COVID-19 vaccines finally became available for children as young as 6 months old. Since then, one Arizona group has been working to make sure hard-hit communities and people of color have easy access to the shots. Cronkite News health reporter Milan Andrade has more on what the community initiative is doing here in Phoenix.
The One Community Initiative is a partnership between Equality Health and the Arizona Foundation, two groups that have been working to help fight COVID-19 in underserved communities. After the FDA authorized vaccines for infants and preschoolers, the group has been holding events in parks across Phoenix.
We have made it easy for people to find a location near their neighborhood. We took a meet me where I am approach and brought the testing and vaccine to the people. Eliminated language barriers, cultural barriers, access barriers, and focusing on education, focusing on access, and focusing on collaboration.
Since the pandemic started, many have helped the initiative distribute vaccines, but also free N95 masks and at-home COVID tests. Among them are Earl and Mary Rose Wilcox, a former Maricopa County supervisor.
Grant Park is the heart of the inner city. My husband, Earl Wilcox, and I have the honor of running it with the city. It's a joint partnership. And we had COVID shots here. First, we started out with drive-by COVID shots because nobody wanted to talk to anybody. They were all afraid. And we did about 200.
Latest Arizona numbers show that over 12 million vaccine doses have been administered, and over 62% of Arizonans are fully vaccinated. In Phoenix, Milan Andrade, Cronkite News.
For more information on upcoming vaccination events, visit onecommunityaz.com.
Activists on both sides of the abortion debate are looking ahead now that the Supreme Court has overturned Roe v. Wade. Cronkite News reporter Luke Chatham examines the impact of the decision here in Arizona.
With the Supreme Court ruling now affecting states across the country, those who support and oppose abortion are figuring out next steps.
So we already strategically navigate people as it is, but now we're going to be navigating so many more people at one time.
Most Arizona abortion providers stopped services on Friday. That means those seeking an abortion will have to travel to other states where it's a possibility. But abortion supporters are concerned providers will get inundated.
They only have a handful of clinics and they can barely support their own people as it is. And now they have to take care of so many people, thousands from various states.
But while the restrictions have made things more difficult, there could be a clear path as to what comes next. A church in Texas works to transport those seeking an abortion to a state that permits it. And they say they'll continue to do so.
The patients are going through all kinds of things, that these are the poorest people in our community. They're women, they're mostly Black, brown, and indigenous women. And that they have dignity and their lives matter.
On the other side of the debate, abortion opponents celebrated Friday's ruling and pledged more support for pregnant individuals. Arizona Senator Nancy Bardo tweeted, quote, "In anticipation of this day, the Arizona legislature increased budget resources to care for both the pregnant woman and her unborn child, including for pre- and postnatal care. Groups like Choices Pregnancy Centers of Greater Phoenix have long provided services to those who choose to forego an abortion, and they say they'll continue to help."
We will continue to offer free pregnancy tests. We will continue to offer free ultrasounds. We will continue, as of 6 weeks ago, to offer the abortion pill reversal.
In Phoenix, Luke Chatham, Cronkite News.
Arizona has a 15-week abortion ban that is set to take effect in September. But there's also a 1901 law that bans abortion outright. The courts may have to determine which law takes precedence.
The nation is taking a new step to help fight suicide. Cronkite News reporter Connor Cox tells us that starting Saturday, phone providers are required to make a new calling code 988 accessible to all.
The public can call or text a new 3-digit code to get connected to mental health counselors. The idea is to give people an easy-to-remember and faster way to get help.
The 988 Lifeline will provide free and confidential support to people in suicidal, crisis, or mental health-related distress 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It will help thousands of people overcome crises situations every day. And it will serve as a universal entry point so that no matter where you live, you can reach a trained crisis counselor who could help.
Here's how this works. An old number connecting callers to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline will stay in operation. But now, when people dial 988, they'll be connected to counselors within that network. One goal of the new hotline is to reduce interactions between those experiencing a mental health crisis and police. At the Google touchscreen, Connor Cox, Cronkite News.
Yet another shortage has hit stores. This time, it's feminine care products that are in short supply. Cronkite News reporter Milan Andrade tells us how the shortfall has led to renewed calls for what's known as period equity.
Nonprofits across the U.S. work to ensure that feminine care products are accessible and affordable for all. But the latest supply chain shortage has them worried that donations will decrease and fewer people will get the help they need. Organizations such as Go With The Flow make sure students have access to period products here in Arizona. Yet another supply chain problem, a shortage of tampons, has the group worried it might not be able to help those who need it.
We know that with students, 1 out of 5 students will end up missing school or class because of lack of access to period products. 1 out of 4 adult menstruators already has a difficult time affording period products because of their costs.
Worker shortages and manufacturing shutdowns have disrupted global supply chains, resulting in shortages of baby formula, popcorn, and now period products. Prices are also rising, with tampons going for as much as $17 a box on Amazon recently. Lack of access to feminine care isn't just a health issue. It can also affect mental and emotional well-being.
Young women can't be mentally healthy if they don't have access to food, to housing, and to the supplies that allow them to access school, and that includes period supplies. So it makes sense. It makes sense that this needs to be a part of the mental health conversation.
Go With The Flow works with other groups to ensure low-income and unsheltered women also have access to period products.
The homeless shelters, domestic violence shelters, food banks, clothing closets. When people think about donating hygiene items, they think about things like shampoo, conditioner, toothpaste, toothbrushes, but they don't necessarily think about period products. The shortage is always in existence for folks who particularly are low income and unsheltered. And that shortage is not based on a manufacturing issue or a supply issue. It's based on a cost issue.
Go With The Flow has events across the Phoenix area to spread awareness about period poverty. To learn how to donate, visit their website at gowiththeflowaz.org. In the newsroom, Milan Andrade, Cronkite News.
Burnout during the pandemic is a top concern for healthcare workers, and that was the subject of a roundtable discussion this week here in Phoenix. Julio Moro Rodriguez heard from a U.S. Surgeon General and the Assistant Secretary for Health about their visit with area healthcare providers.
U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy is traveling the country to hear from healthcare workers. In Phoenix, healthcare providers expressed their concerns with burnout in a closed meeting. After the meeting, the Surgeon General held a press conference at the Phoenix Indian Medical Center.
We came here to learn a little bit more about their experiences, to thank the staff here, and to talk about how we can build a broader movement in our country to address health worker burnout.
Vivek Murthy says burnout is a national crisis and is a major factor in a health worker shortage in the country.
1 in 5 doctors are saying they plan to leave their clinical practice. Imagine a scenario where you break a bone or you're sick and have to go to the hospital, but you have to wait for a long period of time because there's a staffing shortage.
Dr. Claire Nechiporenko, Chief of Pediatrics at the Indian Medical Center, says her experiences in the Indian Health Service helped her avoid burnout.
You make your colleagues connections, they become family, all of a sudden, well, friends, and then they become family, and you're over at, supporting each other. And I think that was probably one of the keys to preventing burnout.
Jasmine Lopez is an experienced clinician in the mental health care field. She advises healthcare workers who are struggling to listen to their body.
Practicing mindfulness, so any type of mindfulness activities, meditation, any type of physical activity to get like that negative energy out of you. Because if you do let that stress accumulate and lead to burnout, just depending on how severe it is, it can take a long time to get out of it.
Surgeon General Murthy also says all of society has to step up to ultimately take care of our healthcare workers. In Phoenix, Julio Mora Rodriguez, Cronkite News.
The advice isn't just for healthcare workers. Lopez reminds everyone that mental health is important and to pay attention to when you need a break.
Our nation's youth were some of the most affected by the disruptions to daily life brought on by COVID-19. Cronkite News reporter Anna Stansfield brings us the story of an Arizona competition that helped children process those feelings through art.
Like so many other kids, 14-year-old Sophia Lynn and her 17-year-old brother Aiden struggled during the pandemic. Online school made it harder to focus. She couldn't go to dance, and he missed out on sports. Not seeing their friends was especially difficult.
I mean, our social lives are such a big aspect of why we go to school, why we do our extracurriculars. So having that taken away from us so suddenly and having to adjust is something that definitely affected a lot of our youth.
Art has been a passion for both of them since a very young age, and was something they turned to for comfort.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed drawing. It's been like a way for me to relax when I'm feeling down. And I think it's just a great way, like my sister said, to spread love about certain topics that you're passionate about.
With the challenges of online school in mind, an Arizona group called SEAL, the Community Engagement Alliance Against COVID Disparities, came up with an idea. The group, including researchers from Northern Arizona University, started a contest to inspire youth to use their creativity to design health messages about COVID-19. Some wrote poems or short essays. Others developed posters about masking up and stopping the spread. Others, like the Lynns, made paintings and drawings.
And so we wanted to make sure that they were involved in really expressing their wants, their needs, in their own words, and developing messaging around COVID prevention and all of the things that came with COVID-19 prevention that really was uniquely experienced by youth.
When the Lynns found out about the competition on social media, they knew they had to participate.
And I thought it was an amazing opportunity to use my skills and use my talents to raise awareness about a subject matter that is obviously very near and dear to my heart.
Their pieces, however, had very different messages behind them.
I think it really just shows the two sides to it, how there's a lot of vulnerability with COVID-19 and how we were affected and we were hit really heavily with the really stark changes. But you can also see on the other side that we also became stronger from it. We learned our lessons. We knew how to put on a brave face and recover from all that we have lost.
So I think for mine, I tried to obviously encompass as many aspects of the whole pandemic situation as possible. I think specifically what I wanted to highlight through my painting was the medical professionals and the frontline workers who are putting their lives at risk for those around them.
Aiden and Sophia were among 12 winners statewide. Each gets a $250 gift card, and SEAL hopes to display digital copies of the artwork at various locations across the state, including the state capitol building in the fall. In Phoenix, Anna Stansfield, Cronkite News.
The art contest might also help with research. SEAL is examining how contest submissions influenced public behavior related to COVID-19.
The Arizona Department of Health Services is partnering with an effort called Count the Kicks to combat stillbirths in the state. Cronkite News health reporter Milan Andrade takes a closer look at how the campaign would help improve birth outcomes.
Count the Kicks educates expectant mothers about how to track their baby's movements inside the womb. The effort grew out of the nonprofit Healthy Birthday, started by 5 mothers who all lost their daughters to stillbirth or infant death.
During her second pregnancy, Sean Similis started having contractions and thought she was going into labor. But what happened next is something no mother should ever have to endure.
The pain and rage of losing him was, consuming for a while. It's always still emotional. My almost 14-year-old was just over 2 at the time. So, in some ways it helped that, I had this beautiful little child that I had to get up and take care of every day.
After experiencing a rare complication, Sumilis lost her baby, a boy named Zachary. 12 years later, she found her passion in helping other pregnant women avoid stillbirth.
I just made a conscious choice that I wanted to feel better, first of all, that I wanted to embrace life, and I wanted to help others in my son's name.
Today, Sumilis works with a national campaign called Count the Kicks to improve birth outcomes through education, advocacy, and support. The campaign provides a free app or paper chart to help expectant moms track their baby's movements during the 3rd trimester.
That change in movement is really an important warning sign, something that expectant parents should be paying attention to and speaking up if their baby's movement changes so that they can help ensure that their baby has a healthy birthday.
The materials on the Count the Kicks website are available for OBGYNs, midwives, doulas, and other healthcare providers.
We try to reach expectant parents really in as many places as we possibly can. We also have printed educational materials that are available to order on our website.
Stillbirths have decreased nationally in the last 15 years, but Black, Hispanic, and Indigenous women are among the most at risk. Any unusual changes in fetal movement could mean there's a problem, and Sumila says women should not hesitate to contact a doctor.
If you notice a change, any type of change in your baby's pattern, you need to be seen. Please don't wait till the next day. You need to be seen.
Healthcare providers and expectant moms can order free Count the Kicks materials or download the app at countthekicks.org. In the newsroom, Milan Andrade, Cronkite News.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us. Break It Down is up next. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.